In this video, we're going to be adding the vulnerable machines to the isolated network, and these vulnerable machines are going to be used to practice penetration testing. So when adding vulnerable machines to your network, you want to make sure that it's in a secure, isolated environment, and that's why we're putting it in the isolated network. So looking at the architecture, we have already set up the pfSense firewall, and we've set up each of the networks. So at this point, we are just going to be adding the VulnHub VMs to the isolated network. And we'll be looking at machines from HackMyVm as well, because people are no longer uploading machines to VulnHub, while HackMyVm is consistently updated. So the first step here is to install the Metasploitable virtual machine from VulnHub. I'm going to put the link to this in the description so you can download it there. But since I already have it downloaded, I'm going to go through the process of setting that up. So all we need to do is go to VirtualBox, and then we'll go to New. And then for the name, we can just type Metasploitable. And then 2. For the OS, this is going to be Linux, and we're going to say Ubuntu. And then we want to specify the virtual hardware. So for this, we can just give it 1 GB of memory and 1 CPU. And then for the hard disk, what we want to do is go to use an existing virtual hard disk. Then from here, we can select the VirtualBox machine that we installed. So if you just go to Add, then I'll go to my downloads, and I have Metasploitable in here. So I'll go to that file, select that image, and then just say Open, and then choose. And then I'll go ahead and say Finish. And then for this, before we start it up, we just want to make sure that it's on the isolated network. So if we go to the machine settings, and then we go to network, we could set that to internal network. And then this is going to be on the CyberRange isolated environment. Everything else can stay the same. So I'll go ahead and say OK. And then one thing we need to note here is that the firewall needs to be started first, as this is the router and the DHCP server for our environment. So this is going to assign the IPs to our other virtual machines. So I'll go ahead and start this. All right, so now that the firewall has started, I'm going to go ahead and start my other virtual machines. So I'm going to start Metasploitable 2, and I'm going to start Kali Linux as well. And I basically want to test connectivity between Kali Linux and Metasploitable 2 just to make sure that it's possible. All right, so now that the Metasploitable machine has started, we want to log into it and just make sure that it got the correct IP. So to log in, we're going to say MSF admin. And then the password is going to be the same. All right, so now that I'm in the box, I can just say ifconfig. And we can see that it has received an IP from DHCP. So that is 10.6.6.13. And that is on the correct network. All right, so next, I just want to confirm that Kali Linux is up. Okay, it is. So I'm going to log into this. Then I'll open the terminal. And I'll just run an ifconfig to get the IP. So this one is 10.0.0.2. So what I want to do is I want to go back to the Metasploitable machine, and I just want to test connectivity with ping. So I'm going to run ping 10.0.0.2, and we can see it's returning packets. So the connectivity is possible here to the Kali Linux machine. Now I'm going to do the same thing from the Kali Linux machine. So I'll get this IP. This is 10.6.6.13. So if I run a ping 10.6.6.13, we can see that it is returning. So there is connectivity back and forth between Kali Linux and the Metasploitable machine. Then we'll just run a quick nmap scan against that IP to see what it returns. So we'll do nmap 10.6.6.13. And we can see that it's returning a list of the open ports. So as you can see, this machine is pretty open and vulnerable, as we have the FTP port open, we have Telnet open, HTTP, a lot of open ports here. So now this machine is good to go for penetration testing. So the next thing that we're going to do is add a virtual machine from HackMyVm. So as I said earlier, this is just another website which is more updated. So it's constantly updated and new VMs are getting added to it. So with HackMyVm, we can just install one of these virtual machines, for example. So I'm going to use the CoolPG virtual machine. And so on the website, it gives a link to what exactly CoolPG is. And if I go to the write-up for this, basically what it is it's a beginner level machine that demonstrates a classic web application penetration testing scenario. So the attack path involves discovering a PostgreSQL-based web application with SQL injection vulnerabilities, exploiting the vulnerability to extract credentials from a database secrets table, and leveraging SSH with the extracted credentials. So this is going to be a good machine to test with, but HackMyVm has many more of these that can be installed as well. So since I've already installed the CoolPG virtual machine, I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So if I go to File and then Import Appliance, then I'll find that machine here. All right, and then for settings, under MAC address policy, I'm going to select generate a new MAC address for all network adapters, and then I'll go ahead and say finish. Now it's importing that virtual machine. All right, so now that that has been imported, I'm just going to modify the settings a bit. So I just want to add this to the correct network. So I'll go to adapter 1, and then I'll say internal network. And then we're going to put this on the isolated network. For adapter type, I'll use the para-virtualized network. And we can go ahead and say OK. And then I'll start this machine. All right, so the CoolPG machine has started. So it just has a login page, which I don't know the credentials yet. So I want to test connectivity to this machine. So I'm going to go to the Kali Linux box. And I'll open the terminal. And I don't know the IP of this machine, so I'm just going to go ahead and run a network scan to try and identify that. So I'll go ahead and run the nmap command, nmap 10.6.6.1/24. All right, so this pulled up a few hosts. So the first one, 10.6.6.13, is the Metasploitable machine that we looked at earlier. But now we can see a new one on here, which is the 10.6.6.14. So this is the CoolPG machine, and it looks like it has SSH and HTTP open. So since it has HTTP, it may have a web portal associated with it. So if we just take this IP and go to the website, we may be able to see something. So I'll open up Firefox. And then if I just go to http://10.6.6.14, yeah, we get to the web page for the CoolPG machine. All right, so that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. I just wanted to give a few examples of setting up vulnerable virtual machines in this environment. So these can be used for practicing penetration testing. So at any point, we can add more machines to this network using the same method. So if you found any of these videos helpful, please feel free to like the video. And in the next video, I'm going to be going over setting up the Active Directory environment.